I want to talk to you about joy. Not as an emotion, not as a feeling, but as the inherent nature of beingness. So in non-dual Shaiva Tantra, joy is not an emotion, right? It's not something that we feel, chase, cultivate, or manufacture. It isn't the opposite of sadness. It's not a silver lining after a hard day. Joy is the inherent bliss of awareness itself, ananda, the shimmering, pulsing aliveness of Shiva Shakti, recognizing itself as the very fabric of everything. It's not joy instead of, it's not joy when, it is joy as, joy as. Joy is the ground of being. Joy is the throb of existence. Joy is the natural radiance of awakened perception. And the thing with joy, right, is it includes grief, rage, confusion, guilt, shame, ecstasy, heartbreak, all the things. Joy shines through all of it because it is all of it. Bhanav-Gupta, Shamaraja, Upaladeva, they all say the same thing. When the contracted I dissolves, what remains is the freedom and ananda of consciousness vibrating as the entire universe. And this is the joy that my work points to: unconditional, inherent, non oppositional, non dual, ever present. Right? This joy is not mood, not preference, not happiness, it's not bypass. It is the joy of beingness itself. And this is what I directly experience and how I live. Except when I forget and the mind takes over and I'm back in the apparent limited sense of self, then I notice and I open back up to the inherent joy of being. And this is what I can teach you to do as well, right? Because joy is always, always, always with us, no matter what the circumstances and no matter what the conditions. And this can be really hard for the mind to grok, right? When you're still perceiving reality through conditioned mind, the mind is like, yeah, but what about when this really horrible, awful, terrible, shocking thing is happening? Where's the joy then? It's like, well, what happens if you let go of your ideas and get really curious? And from that place of curiosity in the middle of the most horrible, terrifying thing in your life, let's make it about you rather than the mythical other out there. Why don't you get really curious and start to play with it, right? When the worst possible things happen, when someone really close to you dies, for example. And I have direct experience of this. I have worked with these teachings through these events, right? When the worst possible things happen to you, what happens if you allow yourself to surrender to and open to the inherent joy of beingness, right? Now, this requires that you fully feel everything that is present for you in this moment. And so when the most awful things happen, what usually will unfold is that we will resist it, right? We go into aversion or we'll attach, right? And we're in this aversion attachment dynamic. And that aversion attachment dynamic is what causes the suffering, not the event itself. It is not the death of the loved one. It is not the loss of the job, right? Whatever it might be, that is not causing the suffering. The suffering is being caused by your attachment or your aversion. And so these teachings on joy and becoming a joy rebel are a very fast way to cut through to the essence of awakening, which is choosing to dissolve all attachment and dissolve all aversion and choosing to fully open up and be with and feel reality as it is from moment to moment, not your thoughts about reality, but actual reality. It's a direct experience beyond conditioned mind, right? This is what it means to be a joy rebel. And it is a rebellious thing to do because everything in our society tells us that when these conditions line up, then I will feel XYZ. when this happens, then da da da. But you know what? There is never going to be a when, and there is never going to be a then. There is only the unfolding of life from moment to moment, right here, right now. And this moment right here is the only place that you can choose to open into the joy that is. And it contains it all. It contains the grief and the shame and the guilt and the fear. And when we stop being afraid of feeling whatever's present, what I've noticed when I stopped being afraid, I'm going to own that, when I stopped being afraid of feeling what was present and instead began to actively train myself to feel what was present. And I had to train myself because I had all of these really advanced defense mechanisms and adaptive strategies that had formed when I was a child to protect me from feeling things, because as a child I wasn't capable of it. Now I am capable. Now I choose. And yeah, I've had to train myself into it. Like, to be a joy rebel is to be a warrior. And it means as well that you unhook from the suffering drama. You unhook from the drama. No more fucking drama, Pete. It's like, what the fuck already? No more drama. And the thing about unhooking from suffering and unhooking from drama is that it can start to get a little bit challenging sometimes to relate to other humans, because what I've noticed is I start to notice how much mind-generated suffering, how much drama people are in, and they're suffering, and they think they're suffering because of their conditions or their circumstances. And I'm like, no, it's you. Well, it's not, it's your mind. Your mind is generating all the suffering that you're experiencing. And then I can't buy into it, right? And because I can't buy into it, I can't play their game. I can't play their game. And I'm just like, there's no conversation to have here. So you have to leave the club. You have to leave the suffering club. You have to leave the, oh my God, life is so hard and everything's so, so difficult. And oh my God, you have to leave that club, right? Which is why I've created the Joy Rebel Club, because I'm like, okay, Joy Rebels, come over here. Come over here. You can hang out with us. No more drama. We are the creative ones. Because becoming a joy rebel is about, when you start to open up into the inherent joy of beingness, start to open up into the creativity of the universe as it wants to express through you. And isn't that what life is all about? Expressing yourself creatively as a function of the universe. You are a function of the universe. You are the universe expressing itself through your unique configuration of awesomeness, right? And when you are stuck on suffering and you're stuck on survival and you're trying to solve all the problems, there's no space for the inherent creativity to come through and express. And the liberation that begins to unfold as this begins to happen is immense. Okay, so this is what joy is about for me. And joy has always been something that I've had ability, natural access to via dance. Dance is a huge part of that. So that's why, as a joy rebel, one of the core practices is dancing the dragon. What is the dragon? The dragon is whatever you want it to be. The dragon could be grief. I'm dancing the dragon of grief this week, and I'm going to dance with that dragon of grief, And then what that looks like and feels like, yes, it's an embodiment practice, but sometimes dancing the dragon of grief could be artwork, it could be writing, it's whatever creative expression comes through. It's about fully meeting that grief that's in your life and dancing with it, dancing with it, dancing with it. Sometimes we dance with the dragon of desire, right? How many of you out there have challenges opening to and owning your desire? And what happens when you start to dance with the dragon of your desire? And this is an attitude. It's a way of being. So for me, dancing the dragon, I often do it as an embodiment practice that includes prayer, invocation, asana or yoga postures, trance dance, martial arts movements, right? Floor postures, yin style, meditation, chanting. It's like this full mudras, bandhas. It's like this full spectrum way of showing up on my mat and allowing myself to be danced ultimately by her, by Kundalini Shakti. She dances me. And when I go on with that intention of I'm going to dance with the dragon of shame, then I begin to meet and alchemize all the shame that's been stored in my system for all of those times when I wasn't able to fully feel it, right? And doing that unlocks joy, the inherent joy of beingness, because we are no longer running away from the fullness of life. And instead, we are embracing and dancing with the fullness of life. And then our experience of reality doesn't depend on how much money is in our bank account. It does not depend upon the car we drive. It does not depend on whether we are with a partner or not with a partner, or with the right partner, or who, what, where. It doesn't depend on any of the externals, because it's in here. It's all in here, you see. And so when you begin to wake up to that inherent joy of beingness, this is a practice, it is a practice, it is a practice. When you start to wake up to it and live from it, life will radically shift and change and reorganize itself around you, because we generate and radiate our experience of reality. And so another big aspect of becoming a joy rebel, right, of dancing the dragon, is the recognition that we take radical responsibility for our experience of reality, so we can clean up what is ours and allow the clarity to radiate through, you see. And it all begins to shift and change. It all begins to shift and change. So joy is not an emotion. When I'm talking about joy, I'm not talking about joy as an emotion that arises within the being that you are. When I'm talking about joy, I'm talking about the very fabric of the universe itself, right? Shiva Shakti, knowing itself as you, as who and what you are. And it's the essence of the non-dual Shaiva Tantric teaching. This is the essence of the teachings, right? This is what it all says. And this is what I have been living into now for the last 20 years. You know, it's taken me so freaking long because I was so attached and I was in so much aversion, but I was unconscious to the attachment and the aversion. And my mind was doing a fucking mind fuckery piece on me, but I didn't see it. But I kept showing up to practice. I kept showing up to practice. I kept showing up to practice, and slowly, slowly began to unwind, right? Began to alchemize, began to devour, digest, and dissolve, and began to drop into that which I am. Essence, nature, that which you are. Essence, nature, we are that, right? We are that. So if you want to do the most rebellious thing ever and become a joy rebel, not just for yourself, but for your family, for your community, can you imagine what kind of society we are going to, we are creating as joy rebels? Right? Because you are no longer a slave to your mind. You stop being a slave to conditioning. You stop being a slave to society, right? And you simply become your free, liberated, wild, compassionate, attuned self, creating and expressing in this extraordinary miracle of life that we get to experience, right? And if that's you, if you want to be a joy rebel, come talk to me. Let's go. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes.